Hi James, here Dreadcat. I would like to add a questions for Corbett. Would it be too far-fetched to assume that Gladio is the successor of SOE, Special Operations Executive, which, as they say, merged into MI6? Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much for the question, Dreadcat, and I hope that we're all on the same page and we all understand what Operation Gladio is about and what it is. But if not, never fear. Of course, there's a podcast episode in the archive with all the answers to your questions. I have an episode going way back talking about Operation Gladio and paper-clipped Nazis, but more recently, back in episode 256, we did Gladio Revisited, so that might have some pertinent information about the context of what Operation Gladio is or was and why it was important. And then, of course, there's Gladio B, the ongoing continuing operation, which obviously I did the Gladio B interview series with Sibel Edmonds on, which is, I think, probably some of my most important work. So if you haven't checked that out, please go to the show notes for this episode of QFC and check it out. But specifically on this question, is Gladio the successor of SOE, which merged into MI6? The answer is yes, and for more detail on the answer, we can go to the seminal work by Daniel Ganser, NATO's Secret Armies, Operation Gladio, and Terrorism in Western Europe, namely page 40, where he writes, in July 1940, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill ordered the creation of a secret army under the label SOE to set Europe ablaze by assisting resistance movements and carrying out subversive operations in enemy-held territory. SOE was placed under the command of the Labour Ministry of Economic Warfare under Hugh Dalton. After German forces had occupied France and seemed unstoppable, Minister Dalton insisted that a secret war had to be fought against the German forces in occupied territories. This democratic international must use many different methods, including industrial and military sabotage, labor agitation and strikes, continuous propaganda, terrorist acts against traitors and German leaders, boycotts and riots. In total secrecy, a resistance network had thus to be installed by daredevils of the British military and intelligence establishment. What is needed is a new organization to coordinate, inspire, control, and assist the nationals of the oppressed countries who must themselves be the direct participants. We need absolute secrecy, a certain fanatical enthusiasm, willingness to work with people of different nationalities, complete political reliability. Under Minister Dalton, operational command of SOE was given to Major General Sir Colin Gubbins, a small, slight, wiry Highlander with mustache who was later to be influential in the build-up of the British Gladio. The problem and the plan was to encourage and enable the peoples of the occupied countries to harass the German war effort at every possible point by sabotage, subversion, go-slow practices, coup de main raids, etc. Gubbins described the task of SOE and at the same time to build up certain secret forces therein, organized, armed, and trained to take their part only when the final assault began. SOE was a carbon copy of Operation Gladio, born in the midst of the Second World War. So that's the short answer to the question, or the somewhat short answer. Obviously, the much longer answer is in the full context of NATO's Secret Armies, that book, which again is one of the seminal works on Operation Gladio, really extremely important, with a lot of detailed information about how it came about and where it came from and what it did. So please do turn to that book if you want more information. All right. Moving right along,